the panel discussion. I'd like to turn it over now to the panel moderator, Mr. Daniel Mellithan. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second annual Accommodation for Success meeting. We're going to be doing a very, very informational and inclusive and hands-on, eye-opening panel here. We have representatives that are employers from several different agencies and companies. We have individuals with all sorts of disabilities, easily perceivable and hidden. And more than anything, we really hope to send a message with you that you can take home that helps you to understand some of the misconceptions about hiring people with disabilities or impact. I serve on the Career Access Core Group Employment Initiative, and I'm also involved with the SPAN Statewide Parent Advocacy Network RAISE project as a resource and product coordinator. I'm really happy to be here. I'm happy you are all here, and I'm happy that we are taking this time to have a better understanding, to throw assumptions and archaic notions aside and see a more truly inclusive society through meaningful work. So without further ado, thank you for being here. Thank you to my panelists, and I'll go ahead and let them introduce each other, starting from the right.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adriana Borojevic. I work at Watlow as a human resources generalist. And for those of you who have not heard about Watlow before, we're an engineering company that manufactures all components of a thermal system. We have over 2,200 team members, and we are headquartered here in St. Louis. We also have one of our largest production facilities here in St. Louis as well. We have started our outreach a little over 2 years ago, and during that time, we have formed partnerships with many local organizations who have helped us grow and diversify our workforce. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Angell Farley. I work with Adriana at Watlow. I am the HR manager here in the St. Louis site.
Hi, my name is Charlotte Hammond, and I am the president and CEO of Challenge Unlimited. We're located in Alton, Illinois. We provide services to people with disability through work opportunities. We are located in 4 states. Missouri, Illinois, Wisconsin, and South Carolina. We have over 1,000 employees, and over 50% of our workforce are people with disability.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Trudeau, and I'm the Public Relations Advocate for Challenge Unlimited. Here's what I know for sure. It really is staggering and true that people with disabilities constitutes the nation's largest minority group. So historically, I know we've come a long way, but it's really these types of events that pave the way for action and transformation, generations to come for our children and for our corporations. I'm just really glad we can be here all today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Can you tell me who you're with?
I work with Charlotte Hammond with Challenge Unlimited.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tim Combs. I'm the Director of Human Resources for the Hyatt Regency St. Louis at the Arch. And I assume everybody here knows where the Hyatt Regency St. Louis at the Arch is. Is that correct? Because we're at the Arch. For those of you that grew up here, it's the former Adams Mark Hotel. So you probably recognize that for sure. But as the Director of Human Resources for the Hyatt Regency, we have 350 full and part-time associates. We are part of a global organization. Hyatt is a global company, but my responsibility is for the facility, the 910-room hotel facility here in downtown St. Louis as the Director of Human Resources, and we're honored to be here today. Thank you very much. With me, we have Nate Stevens and his immediate supervisor, Sabina Adamovich. I'll let them introduce themselves as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nate Stevens, working for stewarding department at the Hyatt Regency, and it's really good working there, like all these dishes and all that stuff, and that's all I was want to know.
Hello, my name is Sabina Ademovich. I am executive steward at the Hyatt Regency at the Arch.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joseph Han, and I'm with the Embassy Suites Hotel by the St. Charles St. Charles Convention Center. I've been working there for now 2 years and 3 months now, and I live there and have autism.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Felisha Clay. I am Director of Human Resources at the Embassy Suites St. Charles Convention Center. I am also the business liaison for the St. Charles chapter of Project Search. So I not only hire people with disabilities, but I also advocate companies to hire people with disabilities. I physically go to your company and talk to your people about hiring people with disabilities. And we also are home to the Project Search St. Charles. We office them within our building, free rental space, free food, everything. So we are proud to be a home site for them, and we just look for great things to come out of Project Search and Embassy Suites St. Charles.
And she really does advocate. When I walked through the door, she said, "Are you Alishea with Centene?" I said, "Am I in trouble?" And she told me more about Project Search. So she is serious. My name is Alishea Johnson with Centene Corporation. I am the Manager of Diversity and Inclusion with Centene. We're headquartered here in St. Louis. We are a managed healthcare organization, so we partner with the states to provide health insurance for Medicaid and Medicare individuals. We are in 24 states with over 11 million members. Truly meet their needs without being in their community. One thing I wanted to share of why I'm passionate about working in the diversity and inclusion space is I feel like the disability community is an untapped community with great talent that we need to reach out to. We partner with Starclough Disability Institute, and they come in and offer training. And so we do mock interviews, and one of the individuals was a quadriplegic. And at the end of the interview, I asked her, was there anything else that she wanted to share? And she stated that a lot of times people say what you see is what you get, and she said that's not true with her, because when you look at her, people see limitations, and she says she's not limited. And that truly stuck with me, and that's something that I want to help break down the barriers of people putting limitations on individuals with disabilities.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brandon Morris. I am an extern at Centene. I work up under the leadership of Alishea Johnson. My primary goal, or one of the primary things that I'm doing, is working with the disability employment program. And we are hoping to attract, recruit, hire, retain, and engage individuals with disabilities more throughout the company of Centene. And that's my goal, and that's what I'm there to do.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And you'll notice he didn't have to, but Yosef chose to disclose his disability. No one forced him. He understood his right, and he understood that disclosure is his choice. And no one made him, but it was something that he felt was pertinent and could share. And others didn't. It's just sort of a theme that we can be mindful of as we move forward. Thank you, guys. Great intros. So I'm going to lead the panel off with a little question concerning disclosure. Isn't that fancy? Look at that. There's a slow pitch right there on the inside corner. So first off, what made you decide to disclose your identity? What made you decide to share about your disability and how it affected you?
My disabilities are invisible to the eye. I am a person known as learning disabled gifted. I have dyslexia, attention deficit disorder, and above average intelligence. So I just disclosed because I really wanted to be seen for my talents and not my limitations, or to be misunderstood by my peers in any way. Some of my symptoms with these learning disabilities can really overspill when expressing my thoughts, the sense of processing, as well as interruption, sense of urgency, talking too fast. Research shows that 1 of 7 people have learning disabilities, and about 30 to 50% of adults are undiagnosed. I am a minority, and I'm 1 of 7. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Another employee want to share about disclosing and why they chose to do it?
The main reason why, decide to disclose your disability, because, like, say for instance, like, oh man, he got a disability, he can't work, but I decided not to tell everyone. I mean, it's not possible. I mean, you can still work even if you have disabilities, you just can work part-time and all that, but I still decided to disclose my disabilities because I don't want people to think that, oh man, something's wrong with him, oh, he got mental issues, stuff like that.
Right. So in other words, you disclosed it because you wanted people to see that you did have abilities and strengths, and if you had things met in the way you need to, you could work just as well or better than anyone else.
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else want to touch on that before we move forward?
Yes. I'm disclosing my, can everybody hear me? Sorry.
Loud and proud, baby.
I'd agree with these 2 speakers over here. I had to totally agree with them because for as long as I can remember, I've been diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome or autism, and I've been throughout all the local services through my parents and my family, and ever since I got this job at the MC Suites Hotel, and I got my biggest fears or like worries, like say that if somebody knows if I like a disability, I could like be either get fired or just something like totally easy, like say like filing or stacking or organizing for the employees, but that's not who I am. I got main talents. I can show them what I can do, and I don't know what I'm going to say, but I just hear I say I'm amazing, talented person. Thank you.
Awesome.
Hey,
So
Daniel.
you'd much rather let them know than have them assume about you. And you'd rather have them see your good work than see issues that they don't know that you would need help with, and they make assumptions about you that are negative. Thank you. Thank you very much, Joseph.
Thank you.
Hey, Daniel.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Contrary to some of my fellow panelists who have invisible disabilities, my disability is obvious. And when I spoke and met with my supervisor and other hiring managers, I wanted them to be confident that although I have a disability, the disability doesn't have me. And I wanted to share with them that the things that I am able to do far outweigh the physical aspect that one sees at first sight. So just sharing with them that, my disability is obvious and you can see the things that I can't do, but with the right accommodations and things like that, I will be able to be productive and do the job.
Excellent. So that maybe the next person that comes along with a disability, whether it's obvious or not, isn't getting judgments made against them because you set that path. And it's going to be easier for the next person moving forward, hopefully.
That's my hopes.
Ideally, right?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk about the next question. What fears or worries did you have about disclosing?
I had the common fears that most people with disabilities have, that I would be treated differently and that there would be a specific focus more so now on my learning disabilities than my capabilities, than my abilities. So another common fear is that it would stop you from getting a promotion. And then worst of all for me is that possible judgment, that stigma, that bias that comes in some way that I would just be announcing this in such a way that I can now lean on my disabilities, when in essence it's absolutely, the opposite, absolutely the opposite.
Great, thank you. Anyone else want to touch on that briefly?
know, what fears or worries do I have about disclosing? Well, you know, like if I told them that I have disabilities, I might be afraid that I might not be able to get a job, you know, and like people might be making fun of him, saying like, oh man, he got disabilities, oh he's retarded, oh he's, you know, that's all.
Can you tell me a little bit more on that? Like, what, when you dealt with this, and you knew about the social kind of wrong ideas that people had.
Yeah.
And I guess you thought that just about anybody, even if they're a high-ranking employer or HR person, you know, they still have those old, outdated notions in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
Or people you work with. That's a realistic concern. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about specific accommodations. This question is open to all panelists. So let's address what actual accommodations were made to deal with the need.
So for Centene and with Brandon, we went through the entire hiring process, and then after he was extended the offer and accepted, we then talked about what accommodations were needed in order for him to be successful. And so I asked Brandon, and he shared things that he used in his personal life when he went through school and also when he did internships. And so that came from typically at Centene, you don't receive an office unless you are a manager above. So we made that accommodation because it helped with him having a job attendant, also with his desk. He needed a desk at a certain height. We also had to think through the job attendant because that person would be on our site with Brandon. So therefore, they had to go through a background check. They had to also receive a badge. There was also things that have to be done in the restroom. Brandon's a male, his attendants are female. We had to think through that process as well. Parking, Brandon's vehicle is higher than our parking garage. So we had to think through where can we have Brandon park that would also allow him to be completely covered to prevent him, you know, if it's raining or any type of weather issues. And so we had to think through that. We also had to work through we talked about what items he needed in order to do his job. And so he told me he utilized a mouth stick. He also needed certain software. And what I would say about Brandon, what was really great is he took initiative. We ordered the things that he needed. When it came, it was not what he needed. He reached out to that organization and partnered with them to get what he needed. So it was just a matter of kind of working with Brandon and him sharing the things that he needed in order to succeed.
That's fantastic. Those are great accommodations. Brandon, you want to touch on that a little bit?
Some of the things that I utilize to make my job easier are a mouse stick and voice command software. She shared with you that they accommodated me with the office. I couldn't be in a common area talking to Dragon and be successful. In addition to the office space, anyone who knows about quadriplegics, we have to do weight shifts to eliminate having pressure sores. So leaning back and doing a few other things with the nurse has been able to get that done in that office. And it was nice for them to make that accommodation for me.
Excellent. And that's a beautiful segue into our next question. So who initiated the accommodation and how did they go about it? Who started the discussion?
I can speak for at Challenge Unlimited. Jennifer actually came on board as our business development individual in the administrative office. So it's not a position that we've carved out, if you want to say, for people with disability. But of course, our organization is open to all people with disability wherever you are in our organization. But again, I interviewed Jennifer, and so the expectations were that she will help the organization to grow. I noticed some areas as far as certain things in the office where the expectations were, let's say that, you would develop proposals, you would, you're responsible for getting out into the community. And so I saw some challenges with whether it be spelling, which is part of the traits or some of the characteristics for a person who has attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder. Also, I noticed where there were a lot of maybe distractions sometimes for her, where her attention level or attention span would be hampered in some kind of way. So one of the things that Jennifer asked for, unknown to me still, that she has a disability, was to work from home. And so when she asked for that, typically that's not something that we do within the organization where people work from home, but she decided that she wanted to disclose that she has this disability. And so it really helped to help her be more productive in the workplace, where I saw her productivity actually increase. We have and people who are in business development, you know that you look for pipelines. And so Jennifer has built a pipeline, honestly, that we've never seen in our organization. So again, despite her disability, we focused on her abilities with some limited accommodations that she needed to help her be more productive in the workplace. So again, she's been like a whirlwind within our organization, to the point where we're having to hire more people in order to keep up with Jennifer.
Fantastic.
I can, and I'll speak really more about the hospitality industry from an accommodation perspective. And, with Hyatt, we certainly, we owe everything we have from the perspective of creating a relationship for hiring individuals with disabilities to Jackie Royer and her team at UCP Heartland and her Talent Connect program. Many of you know Jackie. And candidly, without her and the efforts from an employer perspective, and I assume there's some employers out here who may be nervous about, engaging the process. It's great to have a partner like that who can really kind of help you understand, what we're dealing with. But with regard to disabilities and disclosure and accommodation, which is really what we're talking about.
Specifically initiation. Initiation, if you could address how did the conversation get started?
That's great. That's perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
The conversation got started with Jackie and her peers at UCP Heartland had created a program called Talent Connect. Joe Denny, he is a gentleman who they brought on board as a consultant, and this is critical because Joe has a history in our industry. He had credibility. As a matter of fact, Joe actually had worked in our hotel in past years. So, for employers to have somebody approach you from an organization like UCP Heartland, where I don't even know what you do. I'm just being candid. But to have somebody there who's in our industry sitting right next to them saying, Tim, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put people in your housekeeping, your stewarding, your guest services departments. We're going to put them in culinary. There's instant credibility, Now, candidly, if Jackie was sitting there telling me that, I might have been like, I'm not really so sure. No offense, Jackie, I love you. But for organizations to have that connection with employers really made it. Now, we're done with Joe, frankly. I love Joe, but now that we've established that relationship, it's very easy for us to say yes. We're looking for more individuals, and from an accommodation perspective, very few accommodations, if any, have been made for the individuals that have been placed at our location, and we're talking about at least 6, if not 7, departments represented throughout our hotel. Many of the individuals have had an opportunity to explore different departments. And as I had mentioned to Jackie a few weeks ago, we're really not too far away from a period where we start to see individuals being promoted into supervisory level positions. That was really the goal at the onset. is to not only provide onboarding experiences, but to really help kind of these individuals grow and develop beyond the position that they were placed in as
Absolutely.
they joined our team.
Fantastic, thank you. Then and only then is when people are going to be getting cars, people are going to be getting homes, people are going to be thinking about Europe vacations. That's where inclusion is going to happen, when the wage and poverty gap is narrowed or eliminated. Thank you so much. And I'm going to ask you to bring back another subject we discussed about, that we discussed later down the line, about an inclusion program or an inclusion initiative to try and hire more folks with disabilities. That's a great content.
I had just read that Steven Spielberg learned when 60 years old that he had dyslexia. And he said, fantastic, there's the missing puzzle piece to my life at 60. So it's people in general, all of us with disabilities, that we just want to be treated as equal. And that is the opportunity not just to succeed, but the opportunity to fail. Equals.
Excellent. So let's go to the next question. So what goes, and we've really touched on this pretty well already, but can someone specifically address what goes into making the relationship between employer and employee a success, a happy, positive one that's going to be optimal for both folks?
For me, I would say is expanding on that open door policy, making them feel comfortable, making them feel like they're part of the team, having that communication, whereas if there is something happening with them, they can feel very comfortable with communicating that with you without feeling like they're going to be judged, without feeling like they're going to be reprimanded for it, because truly we are there to make sure that they are successful. And if you don't give them that opportunity to have that open line of communication, you won't be able to build upon a good relationship. And as I always tell my people, relationships build relationships. When you have one person that comes to you, then you have other people looking at them saying, okay, so now I can go talk about what I need to say or what I need to do, and I can easily disclose. So I think keeping that open door policy, for real open door policy, where they feel comfortable with talking about what they need to tell you, and you also reacting to that. Don't just hold the information. If they need an accommodation, make an accommodation for them. If they just need to sit and chat, just let them sit and chat, because sometimes they're just regrouping, and we need to be aware of those things, and that's what builds good relationships.
Excellent. You really addressed workplace culture, a positive and inclusive and open, understanding workplace culture. And I think I'm seeing a lot of nods from the panel. Once you have that in place, it's better for everyone. You know, people feel happy that they're in a place that's inclusive and welcoming, and that everyone is involved and has a say. Great, thank you. Would anyone else like to briefly touch on that? What helps to make the relationship a success between employer and employee?
Well, first, the dignity and respect between both parties. That's a big open door, actually, to everybody to feel comfortable and feel like they're home. We spend more time together at work than like probably we spend home with the kids. So having your employee colleagues come to you and talk about anything and everything, it really make them feel welcome, and I think they can have that good relationship. Same with the other employees, with the other colleagues. I mean, when they come in, when they start talking to each other, they're like a family. It's not like, oh, we're here to work. Of course, we're here to work, but at the same time, we want to have fun, and we're going to spend some time together.
Excellent. The next one goes to the other side of the page, and it's a little more, it's more problematic, but I've heard when working with people before, you wouldn't be here if it hadn't been a success. So let's talk about the underbelly here. What kind of pitfalls did you run into, and how did you get through them together? And Charlotte, can you lead off on this?
I would say the only, I can't say it's a pitfall, but I think it's just when you have individuals in the workplace and just their working style. So Jennifer's working style might be more conducive one way, and other individuals might be more conducive another way. So it's just coming to that happy median of how to work together. So whether you have a disability or not, you know you have maybe sometimes opposite working relationships that, again, you have to figure out what works well within your organization or within different teams. So I don't think it's anything specific to people with disability, and because I just don't want to separate it for just people with disability. I just feel like it's just people who need to learn how to learn what your styles are for working in the workplace in order to get things accomplished and to meet the company's ultimate goal or the company's ultimate mission.
Excellent.
I'd like to just add to that and say, along with Charlotte, that, you know, when we talk about open communications, is that not like our daily art in everything we do? It's a process. So, you know, there's a lot of things, if it's neurological, I work on my learning disabilities every day. We work on accommodating ourselves, and I don't know if you guys heard the guest speaker, but we find accountable, responsible ways to provide accommodations for ourselves. And I remember Brandon saying the other day when we were hanging out, he's like, but just so grateful for the job. But they're grateful, you know, they're fortunate to have us too. So it's about building, in whatever torch you're having to carry in your life, it's about building enough self-confidence and then taking that faith and confidence. And then Charlotte had the environment within her corporation for me to say, boy, I'm gonna lay my cards down on this one. And off we went with communication. So.
Excellent. So I'm hearing a lot of people say that clear, open, and responsible communication, mindfulness about communication, has been really helpful for everyone. Tim, I saw you grab the mic. Do you have something else to touch on?
Yeah, it's just because I love to talk, but I know that all of my fellow panelists had the same challenges here. From an employer's perspective, the key component here is that you have to have the support and the buy-in of your senior leadership within your organization, because if you do not, your policies will fail. And, you know, I've had a number of employers ask, well, you know, how did you roll it out? Did you survey the staff and see what maybe they were concerned about in terms of hiring people with disabilities? And you know, she gave me a laundry list of things that they were thinking about doing, and I thought, wow, that'd be great if I had the time and the resources to do all that. But the reality is that when you have in our case, our general manager of our hotel, in other cases, you know, senior vice presidents, promoting the program, it's amazing how everybody buys in to the program when the person at the top is saying, hey, we're going to do this, we're looking for your support, and everybody's like, yes, sir, boss, we're going to do this. And so, you know, critical that you have that senior leadership support. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have that buy-in at some of the lower levels and be like, oh, the boss said we had to do this, so we're going to do this. But that pretty much takes care of itself once you introduce the individuals into your workforce. And so, you know, to the point about surveying the staff and what do we need to be aware of, and do we provide training to our staff, sensitivity training, we did none of that. I would have loved to have been able to do that, but we did none of that. It was just the mere introduction of individuals with disabilities into our workforce that really did it for us, because what we found and what you see are people who want to work, and that is such a luxury. I hate to sound jaded and cynical, but frankly these days it's hard to find people who absolutely want to work. Many employees want to go home, and our employees through this program want to be at work, and that is a refreshing change for an employer.
Fantastic. Awesome.
And if I can just piggyback off of that too. And so as you guys are listening, and as I'm listening too, because, you know, we're up here on the panel, but we're also learning as we learn about others' experiences. And so as I'm listening, you can kind of hear a theme about all the things that we've had to think about and all the things that we're going through. And at Watlow, we started our journey a couple of years ago, and some of the challenges that we also embarked would be training and understanding the misperceptions that were out there, and which causes fear when it comes to our lower level staff as well. And so one of the biggest things that we found too is that gaining the support of our leadership at the highest level and helping them understand the opportunities that we could gain by tapping into this market that isn't tapped into like it should be. We have our senior leadership who we just told about this last week, and he's here today supporting us and was able to change his schedule because he wants to learn and make sure that the people at Watlow learn as well. The other thing that I want to say is that at Watlow, we see this as an opportunity. The question talked about pitfalls, and for us, it's not about pitfalls. We're learning it's about opportunities. And how can we afford others opportunities? And just like Charlotte said, it's really about people. All of you, I'm sure, work with people. And it's not really about a person with a disability. What we're finding is most of us and most of the people that we work with are struggling with some form of a disability, whether they disclose it or not, is two separate entities. But in general, we're working with people and affording people the opportunity to be gainfully employed. And what we're finding is by doing that, they are happy to be employed and they want to be employed. And so we're learning that at Watlow as well. So I wanted to just mention that.
Excellent.
And what I wanted to add was, in the beginning, I was very naive to pitfalls and people having issues because I'm a very happy-go-lucky person. So my assumption was everybody was happy that we had these awesome people at our workplace doing an awesome job until one day a manager came to me and said, "Can you please hire regular people?" And this was probably about a year or so ago, and I was confused as to what regular people.
It is real.
Yeah, it's
It is
real.
real.
You know, up until that point, I did not realize that our management had an issue with us hiring people with disabilities. And really no fault to them because they had not been trained on how to work with people with disabilities. But going back to my point, when she asked about regular people, you know, you look at people that have 4 or 5 holes in each ear, they have lip rings and all of that stuff. Do you call that regular? What is regular? You know, the regular can go many different ways. So as I looked at her, I asked her to define to me what regular really was, because she was one of those people that was on the spectrum of not being regular. Now, there are people that were very different, you know. I'm sorry, it bothered me that she said that. And being the HR director, I was happy to point that out to her. On the spectrum of saying what regular is, we have to be clear that everybody, there's something different about everybody. So when we're addressing pitfalls and we're addressing issues, we have to be really, really sincere about addressing them, because like I said, I was naive. I thought everybody was excited about having a diversified and inclusive workplace. That's because I was trained. They were not. So when we're bringing people into a different culture, we have to make sure that they are trained also, so that we can overcome the barriers, overcome the pitfalls, and you won't have a manager coming to you saying, "Can you please hire regular people?" Because before the unregular people got in this department, it was a declining department. When the unregular people got in that department, it became a #1 department. Joseph was Employee of the Month, the very first person in that department to become Employee of the Month. Right after Joseph, we had a second person with disabilities who was nominated by our guests to be Employee of the Month. So I can say the regular, unregular people in her department made her a stellar department.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, we largely addressed it in this last question, but and I'm going to put this right out there. I want someone to address this candidly. What concerns did you have early on about hiring a person with a disability, and how did you put it to rest?
So at Watlow, we had the same concerns that all of us have heard today. Andrew, I think, saw my notes because he talked about a lot of the things, so I'm assuming those are probably things that most of us deal with. Some of those things are being from a cost perspective. You know, we naturally assume that if you're hiring someone with a disability, there's a huge cost associated with doing that, whether it be from legal costs upon termination, workers' comp cost, and things of that nature. So those are some of the perceptions that we had to train our leadership team members on, that truly, as Andrew pointed out to us, either are very minimal or do not exist. The other things was just the productivity. That's, you know, in the environment that we work in is a very fast-paced environment. And so, again, not knowing who are we going to hire to work in this manufacturing plant. And so productivity is very, seen very highly upon in our organization. And so, you know, getting rid of the fear that people with disabilities will not be productive. You've heard examples where that is not true. And at Watlow, we have also found that that is not the case. The team members that we have actually are the ones that actually like to show up for work. You know, they have low turnover. They're the ones that are coming into work and doing the job that we're asking them to do. And I will share an example, if I can. One of the things that we talked about is training. Training is so important, and I agree with the other panelists, is when I hear things and people talk about and have these questions and perceptions about those with disabilities, sometimes I am taken back. One, it's 2016. And I always naturally assume that we're educating ourselves, especially I'm in an opportunity to be in human resources. And so maybe I have found that I've taken for granted the fact that I have compassion and empathy for all people, no matter what their background is. And so I take for granted that others feel the same way that I naturally do because that's how I was raised. And so we hired a person working with Talent Connect, and I will tell you, as some people have already said, they have been a great resource to us because they had to come in and we asked them to educate us on things that we were fearful of as well, and they could train our other team members and team leaders about some of the fears that they had. Being open and transparent, I will say, is crucial to an organization when you're having these kinds of conversations, because most of the time, like race relations, we're afraid to talk about it openly. You can't be afraid to talk about it. It's important that you talk about it, but I'll share a quick story. One of the first hires that we had as we embarked on this journey, he suffers from autism. And he came in and worked for us, and we trained ourselves, we trained him. He's working on a line with us with people who have been with our organization 15 plus years, and he is one of our top performers and has been with us for 2 years. Okay, so that was huge for us. Adriana got a call from his mom a few months after he was employed with us. And, you know, it's not every day that you get a call from a parent. So naturally, we're concerned that a parent's calling us. And so one of the things that his mom said was, Sam, who suffers from autism, he's antisocial, he doesn't socialize very well, but when he got the job at Watlow, he is now at home and he's talking about Watlow. He's talking about all the things and the great things that he's learning with our organization. And she called to thank us for giving him an opportunity. That is a huge word, opportunity. And so when we think about the work that we do, it's really about providing an opportunity for people who would like to have an opportunity. It's just really as simple as that. But to hear the excitement in her voice, and you know, Adriana and I are very passionate about the job that we do, and so we didn't do this to gain any accolades or anything like that, but to hear someone say thank you, that meant a lot to us, and obviously it's helping Sam to thrive and be a better citizen, which is what she told us.
So what I'm sort of hearing from you is that trainings are all well and good, and yes, trainings are great, let's all get trainings, but if you don't realize or acknowledge that you are very likely part of the inherent, flawed, systemic problem, what's the point? Just checking off lists. Let's actually do something about it. Let's be proactive rather than sitting and waiting for some kind of compliance issue. Let's do something about it. Okay, we're getting closer and closer. We're about the halfway, 2/3 point. So let's continue with the next question. when accommodations were discussed, what concerns did you have about communicating this need? And I would like this one to be like the communication issue. I'd like this one to be open to anyone on the panel, but it'll only take one or two, I think. Maybe someone who hasn't delivered much yet.
Someone touched on it a little earlier, but as an individual getting the job, I thought, well, I'm lucky. I'm fortunate to have this opportunity. And now, needing to ask for the things that will make me productive in my job, I just was a little reluctant because one may feel it costs more to get a desk that my wheelchair can drive up under, and one may feel like, okay, I just don't want to press that limit. I don't want to overstep my boundaries to be able to get the things that'll help me be productive in my job. And I just know individuals sometimes are apprehensive because it may take a little extra money, but not a lot of money to fulfill the accommodation.
Excellent. So, and this addresses an underlying issue, right, with a lot of people with disabilities, that we should just shut up and take what we get and be happy for it. But ultimately, it's not on us to do without. That the rules and laws are in effect for a reason, but it comes down to both parties coming into it with an open mind and open heart and making themselves vulnerable. I'm seeing that from everyone on this panel, that they had to put themselves out there and risk saving face and risk potentially not being so politically correct, and they learned and grew from it, rather than just taking what you get.
And I think it goes back to Felicia's point about the communication, open door policy, and making sure that the person feels comfortable sharing things with you. And so Brandon, I'm talking to him about, okay, what else do you need? What are your hours? And he did share, well, I don't want to ask for too much. I don't want to do this. And I said, well, Brandon, whatever you need in order to be successful to do your job, please let me know. We have employees all the time that, it could be they want a stand-up desk because their back hurts and they want to be able to stand and then sit. We have employees that, request different chairs because of back issues or whatever it may be. And I told them it's people all throughout the organization that request things that they need in order to do their job. So we want to make sure that you feel comfortable and that you share things. And so Brandon, I think, is really good about making sure that he lets you know that he is not taking advantage of a situation or a circumstance. Even when we were talking about his hours, I said, well, what hours do you want to work? And he's like, well, maybe 10 to 3 or maybe. And I said, well, if you get here at 10:30 or if you get here at 11, you can just extend on either end. He's like, well, no, I'm a person of my word. If I say I'm going to be here at 10, I'm going to be here at 10. I said, well, I like to say I'm going to be at work at 7, but it doesn't happen every day. I said, so it's flex time. So just making sure that they feel comfortable and understanding that I'm not just making this accommodation for you. This is part of our culture. We have a flex schedule. So I think it just goes back to that communication and open door policy.
Fantastic. I'm going to move on to the next question, but thank you so much for addressing that you had to step up. The onus was not on him. If you saw the initial hesitation, you had to morally and ethically and legally make him comfortable. And more than that, you're setting up that culture we talked about of people feeling accepted and being accepted. We're going to carry on a little bit for now. So let's talk about the benefits that you and your company have received from hiring a person with a disability. And I believe that Jennifer and Charlotte were going to talk about that.
Yeah, and it kind of falls on the notes of what we were just talking about as well, so this is so nice. I've worked in a career as an advocate for people with disabilities much of my career. This is the first company that I disclosed. I didn't learn about just how extensive training when I was, moons ago about my learning disability. So I didn't learn, and I thought you'd find that interesting. It wasn't through grade school, but I'm a 30-year-old young woman learning about these learning disabilities. But what I've learned too is that there's a great sense of empowerment there. And that we are grateful to find work, but we really do just want the ability and the opportunities to both be successful and to fail.
Excellent. Way more than just a paycheck. Way more than just a paycheck.
I just have to say, in addition to Jennifer, as I said, we have over 50% of our workforce are individuals with disability. And I would say in the last 20 years, we were a company that experienced a very high safety injury rate. And we included not only the people, of course, with disability, also the staff, but again, it's an inclusive environment on how to drive down or improve rather, our safety culture. And if some of the individuals in the room from the HR people here, that you understand when you have almost a 2.0 experience modification rate, that is massive. And so just know we were paying probably close to $1 million just for workers' comp insurance. And just through the efforts of our staff, that they rallied together, our clients actually came up with what you call a safety mascot called Zach the zebra. And so it was a culture where, again, they were included in the safety talks every day. They were coming up with new ideas, so they're very innovative. And so I have to say this past year we celebrated, and we have some incentives out there, we celebrated 307 days without an injury in our company, and our experience modification rate has been driven down to 0.68. That is amazing, and we did it in about 6 years.
So that is with people with disabilities, the national average being 1.0. And also another myth that we all have to be advocates for, right? That people with disabilities that are because of cost, because of accidents, as if they are more, cause more accidents, and that's just not the case. So there is a lot to celebrate from a safety standpoint there.
Really quickly, just to point out, I think for Centene and for other companies, I would think it's the visibility, it's the awareness. So when someone sees Brandon come down the hallway, I had questions around, well, how is he going to do his work, or how does he do this? Because of course we automatically put the limitations and barriers on people. And so when I explain the software that he uses, and he uses a mouse stick and he's able to do this, and they're like, wow, that's amazing. I never would have thought that. We also hired another individual who is blind. He has a guide dog, and he was hired to schedule interviews and bring candidates to their room. And I'll admit, when we hired him, like, well, how is he going to know where the room is? It's training. It's about, and so just think of the impression, and we hear it all the time from candidates coming in. You see a person coming down with a guide dog to show you where your interview room is. It was just amazing. So I think it's that visibility and that awareness that people with the visible disabilities bring to the organization.
Excellent. Right. And so seeing success stories, seeing Brandon, I have a disability myself. Mine's different than his. We're both quads. But, I'm not going to say I'm inspired by him, but I'm lifted. I got to inspire myself. He's not going to get me out of bed in the morning. None of you are. You all got to get yourself up in the morning. I'm not going to inspire you out of bed. But ultimately, seeing him roll down the hall and do the job and do it well helps people to shift that archaic, old, outdated mindset and think more about what people can do than focus on the impairment or the disability. Thank you very much. So I'm going to steamroll these next questions together in the interest of time. So if one person could, one employer in particular could address this for each question. So what resources or agencies did you use in the process of hiring or retaining employees with disabilities? And also, if your agency or company has a disability hiring initiative, how did you start up? What got you going?
Okay, I can go. For the Disability Hiring Initiative, what happened to us was in 2014, we won the Workforce Disability Employee in St. Charles for the year. And while we were there, this young lady presented this opportunity to me called Project Search. And what basically happens is that you become home to that particular class. You house them, you feed them, you do everything for them. And out of that, we gained 9 valuable people that we would have never gotten had we not just became a rotation site, but took on the entire initiative and said that if they, whatever they needed, we'd pay for it. And that's basically what we did. We gave up a meeting room, a conference room that we get $1,000 a day for. We gave it to them. If they needed space in the ballroom, we gave it to them. So we became the poster child for it is just the right thing to do. At one point Nike said, just do it. So we became, just do it. Don't talk about it, just do it. When we would have busy days in the hotel, we would have someone named Caroline. She is in a wheelchair. I think she has cerebral palsy. She became our concierge. So it was one of those things where we became our own agency. We were selling our people. Their skills were from a 4-star, 4-diamond hotel. And who can turn that down? Okay? So we became our own agency. And that's why I am excited to be an advocate for them. Because when a student walks up to you and says, hi, my name is Pete. I want to own a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home. What more can you do? That's a heart wrencher. So you have to give them what they need. So we became our own agency, and I became the spokesperson to get it done.
Excellent. Putting your money where your mouth is. Excellent. Tim, I see you're chomping at the bit there.
Well, again, I'm a talker, but so, to address the first one, I've already talked about our partnership with UCP Heartland Talent Connect. There's no shortage. I've learned this in the amount of agencies that are out there offering their assistance. Some fee-based, some not so much. Paraquat is another organization that we've worked with and partnered with as well, and have found that they offer some phenomenal training. So with regard to the agencies we use, really for Hyatt, at least our property here in St. Louis, that's really it. What I really, your next question of, the hiring initiative, that's really where we get excited. We're fortunate here at Hyatt that we work for a global corporation. We actually have a global team at our corporate offices in Chicago that are part of our diversity and inclusion. So we have programs established from a corporate level that goes out to all of our North American properties, our Latin American properties, our European facilities, and Asia. So we're talking on a massive scale here that we get direction and advice and counsel that frankly a lot of companies just don't get. So we're very fortunate to have that. And what, in its simplest terms that we've learned through all those resources is that, companies years ago would put together diversity initiatives to create diversity in the workforce. And other companies have been very good about creating a sense of inclusion in the workforce, making everybody feel welcome. But the reality is, without both diversity and inclusion, you just cannot run a successful business. You can't do it. And the companies that have embraced that, like the companies you see here on this panel, are the ones that are going to establish themselves. Listen, we're in business at the end of the day. Our ownership, our corporate offices, they want to make profits and revenue. They're also smart enough to understand that unless you have true diversity and inclusion in your workplace, you're going to fail as an employer. We all participate in these best places to work contests and annually, whether it's through the Post-Dispatch or the Business Journal, and that's fantastic. It's great recognition. But the fact is that your employees are the ones that recognize daily whether you truly have diversity and inclusion in your workforce. You might have a plaque on the wall, and that's great, but it's really felt at the ground level, with Nate and Sabina and our managers. They're the ones that feel whether or not diversity and inclusion is actually active in the workforce. And then when we have that, you're going to have productivity, you're going to have pride, you're going to have customers reacting to that. The folks that visit our hotel have a variety of degrees of disabilities. And they want to see that our workforce is representative of frankly, the market that we work in and our nation and our economy. So you have to embrace diversity and inclusion. We're fortunate, again, as I said, that we have a corporate team that really helps at Hyatt, that helps for hotels to act as a support service. HR directors might raise their hand. I really don't know. We're expected to be experts on everything, HR, right? And so we have to have partners in the community that reach out and raise their hand and say, whether it's Paraquat or Talent Connect or whatever agency, we're willing to help, because we're simply not experts in every aspect, although we think we are sometimes. And so it's really that the combination of the support that we get from you and our own companies, but really making sure that there truly is both diversity and inclusion in our workforce. That's critical.
Absolutely. And you've mentioned this a couple times. Honey rolls downhill. Yeah. You know?
Oh, absolutely.
There's lots of stuff that rolls downhill, but honey does too. And so the change starts at the top, and then that affects the whole institutional or organizational culture. And I think that's a really great thing a lot of you employers have addressed. I appreciate it. So we've got 2 more questions. Let's knock them out, and we might have a little time left over. I'm not sure if we'll have much. I'm seeing the red light flashing. But I wanted to share with everyone, how did you get other staff and coworkers, this is for the employers, how did you get other staff and coworkers to buy in and become directly involved in increasing a positive workplace culture?
I guess I'll take that one. So at Watlow, there are truly so many resources available out there. And I think initially, when we started this about 2 years ago, we were not aware of all those resources. And so we started attending different vendor fairs, and through those vendor fairs, we had an opportunity to meet Val, who's with the Center for Head Injuries, and thanks, Val, for everything that you have done for us. We have, through the center, we also became part of Talent Connect, as you've mentioned. And through Talent Connect, we have formed many other partnerships. So, our partnership with MERS Goodwill, St. Louis ARC, just recently the Independence Center. And so truly there are so many resources that are available not only to the employer, but the employee as well. We were able to offer various trainings, diversity trainings. Some of those trainings were actually offered by the center itself. We were also able to bring job coaches who would come on site and help us work through those learning and training gaps.
That's excellent. I'm going to go to the last question because I'd love for everyone to address it briefly. We're already a couple minutes over, but this one means a lot to me.
Regardless of their disability, or rather their ability.
Excellent. And the significance of it to you and your company. Why is it important to have an inclusive workplace, to hire people with disabilities? Why does it matter?
Yeah, so for us, it's really about, again, everything that we've kind of talked about today. Charlotte kind of mentioned it, and it brought it home for me, is we look at people as people, right? We don't look at them for their limitations or what people may see as their limitations, but we look at people as people. We want to focus on providing the needs. Everybody has different needs, right? And so we want to make sure we have an inclusive workforce where we're providing whatever their specific need would be at all levels. And so that's really what we teach our team leaders and supervisors at Watlow.
Well, I don't know if I could really say any more outside of just really recognizing and applauding the gifts and abilities of all people. I think you really miss out as a company when you don't have different perspectives of individuals who bring different ideas, a different walk of life, and that really can impact the community. And also, for a lot of businesses, even though we're a nonprofit organization, it really impacts what we do as far as getting into more communities, into meeting other business and ideas that we have as an organization to keep hiring people with disability. We offer facility management services and also staffing services to not only the federal government, but also commercial businesses. And so we have individuals from supervisors to our direct care staff to direct labor individuals. And some of these positions are what you call in the industry kind of high-risk positions because you deal with heavy equipment, with groundskeeping and things like that. But you really, really do miss out on an opportunity to make an impact in the community that you're in, and also to add to your bottom line.
Exactly, as Tim said, it's gonna affect your quarterly financial flat line. Your baseline is gonna go up because people are it's more than just a job. It's ownership of your life, an inclusive society.
You know, you've heard it already, it's the right thing to do. That's absolutely fact. But as we've discussed and as you just mentioned, it's table stakes for employers to compete in today's market. For employers who have failed to recognize the value and who have failed to embrace the opportunity, they will be left behind. They will absolutely be left behind. And if you want to be competitive in the business world today, you need to understand that fact.
Absolutely. Can you pass it back to Jennifer so she can touch on her final thought? Lady to your right.
Oh, I opened with that today. I just wanted to remind us that it really is the largest minority. It's people with disabilities. And from a work standpoint and working with Charlotte, and again, my whole life has been working with people with disabilities, it's very humbling for all of us to realize, to all of us we all have to come into acceptance of where we're at and where we're going, no matter what it is. So we all coach ourselves to that finish line. But it really is going to be these types of events that take our generations, that take our corporations where we want to go. So I'm just very blessed to be here today.
Well put. Nate, can you tell us a little bit about what inclusion and workplace culture means to you?
I think it might mean like saying, hey, where this person at? Hey, let's see where you at today, and then bring them up to the next level, being able to work with them. For example, like I was working by myself one time. I thought I wouldn't be able to get it, but my manager actually came in and said, oh, you did a good job today. Yay. And that's what it really means to me.
Right. And you own that. You own that. You take it home with you when you're done working. Go ahead.
Well, I think end of the day, there is no people with disability. People with the disability, we're all people. We should treat each other with dignity and respect, and it shouldn't be different. So I think it's just a great opportunity. We have all this, and we can learn and grow and work together and bring people to the next level.
Joseph?
I just want to say that when people with or without disabilities, they can get some respect and help each other out, and just be like a big part of the family and just help each other out. Thank you.
Awesome. So finding your place in society and feeling like you belong.
For me, that diversity and inclusion means that we have people who will be able to tap into that American pie, who will be able to bite off the piece that they had not been able to bite off of previously. We, as people who are at the top of the chain, we are change agents. It is our responsibility to bring change. And with that change comes with allowing people to show those abilities that they do have. So I look at it as a responsibility. We have to do it. If we don't, who will? If we don't do it now, then when?
I once heard it said that diversity is being invited to the dance and inclusion is being invited to dance. And so I thought that was a really cool way to say that, because you can be diverse, you can do all this, you can go out and hire people with disabilities, women, minorities, but if they don't feel included, what's the point? If you build all these pipelines, if you build all these relationships with all these great resources that we were able to connect with today, if you get the people hired, you get them in the door, but they get in the seat and they're not engaged, It was for nothing. So I think you need to first think about your culture, think about your managers, think about the people they'll be working with, and make sure you do the training and get everyone on board, because you don't want to bring people in and then you have a bad reputation or you don't have people that want to stay. So again, diversity is being invited to the dance, but inclusion is being invited to dance. You want to make sure that people feel included.
Take us home, Brandon.
Very well said, Alishea. Diversity and inclusion to me is giving an individual who has something that's not typical about them the opportunity to have the opportunity to give them the ability, to give them the chance, right? Because a lot of people, they just don't get the chance because of what may be perceived. And the inclusion is to let the person come in and let their talents, let their personality affect someone else. Myself personally, I'm unable to reach out and give a person a handshake when they approach me. So I take the initiative to welcome them as a form of greeting, as a form of departing. Touch my hand, and I'm gonna let them feel more comfortable, because I know I'm not what you typically see. I'm a quadriplegic, I'm on a ventilator, and some individuals just may not feel comfortable. But I'm gonna take the initiative to let that individual know, here, touch me, and we can establish and grow our relationship. And I believe, in closing, the more individual hangs around me, the more time a person spends with me, they don't even recognize the wheelchair and the ventilator and the trach and things like that. So just be open to getting to know a person despite what you may see on the surface.
Excellent. In wrapping up, I wanted to say thank you to my wonderful panel. Can we give them a hand again? If I could see one takeaway happen today, it's that the idea of hiring someone with a disability might have some kind of hesitation. You might think that there's going to be extra cost. You might think that there's going to be extra outlandish training that's needed. The truth of the matter is, those are outdated. Statistics speak differently. People with disabilities want to work. 2015 Kaiser Foundation study revealed that 84% of people who are unemployed with disabilities and were working age wanted to work and believe they should and could. They should, they can, and they need to. And I hope the people in this room can understand the significance of banding together and working past these old, outdated notions to create a more truly inclusive society and world. So thank you very much.